that, we're still coming up quite a bit short. So that's just my.
You have some payments that were made too, though. You gotta add on there.
Yeah, that 41,000
41,000.
payments. But now there's still one outstanding party. Do we know anything about that?
No,
No? Okay.
no, so the thing is the city could take proactive action on it. There's, I think one of the things mentioned was foreclosure. There's a couple other ways we could try to go after the money. Those are gonna cost us money. At this point, the money is out of the revolving loan fund, which I'm looking at options of what we can do with, later this week, actually. So it's not necessarily costing the city money, but it's other money that could be loaned out in the future to other businesses in the city.
I was here when it all happened. I cannot remember the details, but is there some hanky-panky going on where his property's only worth 30 and the other ones are worth 100?
I have no idea.
Is the property getting rid of somehow where they're whittled it down to it's only worth 30 grand, 33?
Like he transferred it to his wife and,
Right.
yeah, I have no idea.
Because how would he be approved for 25% of that with a $30,000
There's,
garage? So something's not right in my mind anymore.
right.
It's very possible.
It'd be a good question that Lacey could give his attorney. Is it our attorney asking this? Yeah, just maybe email them and say, how did this happen that the property is now only worth 33?
Now, do we have the collateral value of that property during the time of this loan?
I can look to try to find out
That
if we
might-
do.
that
I mean,
might be a good spot to
2005 was a
start.
bad, 2005's before the bubble burst for the most part.
Slowing it downward.
So it might have been really high, it might have been high in 2005 when they got the loan. It's possible, I don't know.
There may have been some
I mean-
changes to the property since then too.
Right.
It's also possible, I mean, half of it could have burned down or they could have added $1 million addition, I don't know, you know?
And if something was removed through,
Yeah.
intentional or unintentional,
Mhm.
then with our lien, we would have been entitled somehow, I think, but.
Typically, if you call the
That's other
courthouse, like
questions.
Stephen County, they could probably give you the value of that or even look on the internet.
Well, that's what I have.
Oh, you
The
have
value is
that?
33,300.
Okay,
That's what they're taxing it as.
okay.
So,
The county's taxing.
So it could be worth 45, 50.
It may be way under appraised. Yeah.
I would just start with the 30, I agree with you guys, go from there, see what happens.
Yep.
I want 30.
Well, and I'm kind of with Pat too. I think if the other ones, the lowest they did was 30,
And he was a prime player. I mean, he was a general manager of the business. So, I mean, it's not like he was just a secondary partner. I mean, he was a primary,
So if we tell him 30, is he gonna think that means we're negotiating starting at 30? Because in my mind, that's not the case.
Well, I think she just explained to them that the other two have settled with 30 and we're requesting for him.
Well, one of them settled at 35.
Right. But 30 with attorney fees.
30
or
plus
35
attorney's
we do
fees.
the attorney fees, one of the two. You can give them an option.
I go 30 with attorney's fees, and he's the one that wants it cleared.
Right. There's a reason he wants to clear it.
And if not, then maybe we just let it sit.
Yep, I agree.
yeah, and I can find out more information from the attorney about what options we have if that's what happens and all of that. So it came in on like Thursday afternoon before I printed packets and said, okay, we'll talk about it.
Okay, looking for a motion for 30 plus attorney fees.
So moved.
Motion made by O'Regan, looking for a second.
I will second that.
Second by Carlson. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Any more new business? Public forum. Any members from the public wish to be heard can sign in. Got 5 minutes. Don't look like we have anybody. Hi, Don.
See somebody might want to talk to us.
Gotta get my guitar.
All right. So moving on. Department reports. Fire department, don't look like we have the chief here tonight.
No, he's on a mini vacation with his family.
Okay, 37 is his report. Looks like we had 12 medicals, 2 good intents, 2 MBAs, and 0 fire. I could have given it to you, you're the one fire department. You could have got it. Don't look like he has anybody have any comments or concerns for the fire department? All right, we'll move to the police department. Jason?
Okay, the Mountain Police Department's been busy the last month. We had 133 calls for the month of June, which brought us up to a total of 524 this year to date. That's including Officer Jamie Luberts, which was, as you can see on the report, he was only here for 3 days in June, but he's been very active and well recognized around the town already, so.
So technically we originally had we had 400 and some calls before this, and then you guys had
Yeah,
133.
we had 388
Wow.
at the end of May,
Okay,
and now we're at the end of June, we're at 524.
good. Good and not good.
A lot of it is we're being very proactive.
Yeah, I see that.
Getting out and doing a lot of, trying to slow traffic down through town as well, so. And summer's our busy month. On the agenda, looking at having you guys approve the policy updates that I presented at the special meeting. There were suggestions by the Minnesota League of Cities to a loss prevention audit that we update our policy manual. They gave us a lot of suggestions of which policies we should have or shouldn't, or how to have them written. So,
I believe you guys all got a copy of that last meeting, right?
I wasn't here at the last
Oh,
one.
I think most of us did. I'm looking for a motion to approve the policy updates for the police department.
Make the motion.
Motion made by O'Regan, looking for a second.
I'll second that.
Second by Johnson. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Squad cell phone. We currently have a cell phone that the city pays for to keep in the squad. It's got its own separate number, and it costs the department a little over $66 a month on average. Somewhere it's about $800 a year. Typically, most departments don't have squad cell phones anymore. Just about every officer has a personal cell phone on them at all times. In the olden days, it cost money per minute to make a phone call, so that's where the initial squad cell phone came from. But now with unlimited talk and text on everybody's phone, it doesn't cost any additional money. So it just becomes more of a nuisance having an additional phone in your pocket all the time, and an additional cost. So my suggestion was to eliminate the squad cell phone and just use personal cell phones for any business work needed. And just looking for the council's recommendation or thoughts or ideas on that.
How would we call the squad then if we wanted to?
Well, currently the best way of communication to contact an officer that's on duty is to call Morrison County Sheriff's Office, because they do all of our dispatching. They're the experts at that. They take all the information in, relay it to us on our computers and via radio. So in that way, they've got the information. We're not trying to collect information and pass it along to them so that they can put it in the computer. And it's just a better flow of information and traffic there.
And if you're busy, if he's on a call, like a medical or an accident, they don't give him that call. Like you call down there and say, I want to talk to Jason. Typically, if he's not busy, they'll just radio him and say, Jason, can you call Steve Johnson? But if he's busy, they won't give him that call until he's clears from that. So it's a good way of doing it.
Yeah, and also they can, city residents can call the Motley PD office phone. If we're in the office, we can answer, otherwise, after so many rings, it gets transferred down to dispatch as well anyway, so then they can contact us through there. Part of the, that's one issue as well too. Right now, there's a lot of residents that do have the squad cell phone number. And when I am on calls, it's ringing all the time. And people are trying to get a hold of me and I'm busy and I'm not able to take that call, and then they get upset because I'm not picking up when they see me driving around town.
Sure.
So it'd be nicer if they just automatically get sent to dispatch.
So I have a question. Does our phone system here allow you, say when you're on duty, instead of you giving out your personal number, does it allow you to forward your calls from the office to your cell phone? Or have capabilities to do that? Our new system at our work does.
It might, but again, I don't know that we want to do that, because I think this, by everything in theory, as far as I understand it, should go through dispatch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In the
100%.
past, everybody's like, oh, small town, just come over, have me do this, which some of that is good, some of that's still probably necessary. But when it actually should go through dispatch, that record isn't being created and we're losing some of that. And I know of a couple instances where it's been an issue that we don't have the record of somebody responding to
Yeah.
those
And I
calls.
know I've been guilty of
Yeah.
just calling Ron, not really knowing which number I'm calling, and say, hey, you should come deal with this, and really it should go through the proper channels. My only real worry is I don't like the fact that you giving out your personal cell phone to all the residents.
No, my personal cell phone number won't go out to anyone. When I make if
So
dispatch.
you want to use it to call out, but you don't want to receive any calls on it?
Well, I can receive calls in from dispatch, I currently do.
Oh, okay.
Since I've been working here for the last 3.5 years, anytime somebody calls at dispatch and they just have a question they want to ask me, dispatch will transfer it out, and they always transfer to my personal cell instead of the squad cell anyway. So it always comes in on my personal cell, but that caller isn't able to see my number because it gets transferred through dispatch. When I make a call out, it shows up on the responding person's side as a restricted phone number. or
Okay, I
private.
guess I've seen that when you have
Yeah.
called me. Okay.
And
And he can
then,
unblock it, like he can put certain numbers down on like block for you,
Yeah.
or for us, people he wants to know,
Correct.
but the rest of them he doesn't.
And that I get, I don't like the fact of just everybody in town having your personal cell, because
No.
they're gonna call you all the time, and really, if they're just gonna call to complain about their neighbor, instead of them calling dispatch and, it might
Correct.
really keep things on a more serious
Yep.
level.
Yep.
it will. And they still have the opportunity, happens a lot of times, people call Darcy and I, and they say, oh, is Jason on today? Can you have him stop by, or can you have him call? And we usually just let him know, and then he
They do
takes
it.
care of it from there.
They do it to me. I just had one last week.
From us?
No, somebody resident in town.
Oh.
And Lacey and Darcy have done a very good job at that as well, is passing along the word. Well, if this is something important, we need to call the sheriff's office, because then if I'm not working or Jamie's not working, they can have a deputy respond right away.
Right, some people are still for some reason under the impression if we don't have an officer on duty, they can't talk to anybody. So we're trying to make that clear to them that no matter what, you're gonna talk to dispatch either way.
Right.
Yeah.
It just depends who might respond,
So if residents, come up to you and say, hey, I want your personal cell phone because I need to get in touch with you, so you'll be prepared to tell them, no, we prefer you to go through the sheriff's department? and-
Yep, and that's what I've been doing for 3
Yeah.
years. 3+
Is that something we should put maybe, I know you have a lot of signs on the front door already, but, is that something we should put on the door, the number for the?
well, if they call
Because I don't know the number, and I don't wanna call 911 if it's not a.
but if you
emergency.
call our police department,
Yeah.
after
Oh,
3
that's
rings,
right,
it automatically
transfers.
gets transferred there.
Yes, I
So
forgot
most of the
about
time when they're calling the police department, it gets transferred there anyway, or they can call City Hall during business hours and it's us. And then, the voicemail system also, and believe the last recording, it tells you that that's what's gonna happen, and if it's an emergency, dial 911, and, yeah.
How does that work for me? I'm in Cass County, and I know I've called a couple times, and there's not a lot of wasted time, but they kept transferring me back and forth to Morrison, and then they'd call Cass.
Yeah, that becomes a little bit of a trickier position because you're in the city of Motley, city limits, but
Right.
you're in Cass County. So if there's a Motley officer on, Motley will respond to it. If a Motley officer is not on, then it becomes a Cass County call.
Yeah, he could be up in Emily.
Right.
But I can tell you if it's something bad and you call 911, they're gonna transfer the Morrison County deputies up there. Or a pillage or,
I told-
As long as you tell them you're in
Yeah.
the city limits of Motley, they're gonna send.
Well, and maybe that's something we can do too, is put out the Cass County Sheriff's number. I guess we don't really have that anywhere, so for
I
those.
put it on the website.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, under the police department.
Darcy's on it. There you go, Steve. City website though.
I think it's a good idea. I've actually talked about this, with Ron. I wanted to put it away. I thought it was money being spent that. No, I get, I think $25 or $30 stipend for using my phone. We could do something like that. You think that's necessary or no?
I think if we're doing that, other employees should have the same benefit, particularly Bruce, who I think
Does he have- do you
I
have
think
a-
half or 100% of the town has Bruce's personal cell phone number. And he gets calls all the
Do
time.
you have a city phone? No?
I personally don't feel I need that stipend. I mean, like I said, it's not costing me anything.
Okay.
So I don't feel that I need to take that money from my budget where I could use it for other things.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna argue that.
You know, initially, right off the bat, I was thinking, oh, that's not a good idea, we shouldn't do this, you need the cell phone. But after hearing your reasoning and the fact that you're not giving out your personal number, I think it does sound like a great idea. After
It
I,
is unhandy to have two phones.
Mhm.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, better not use it.
More of a hindrance than,
All right, I'm looking for a motion.
I will make that motion
What's the motion?
to
No, if we can get rid of
cell
the
phone.
oh, wait, maybe before we do that, are we under any obligations to continue that one?
We should not be. We finally, it was in a chief, not the last chief, but another chief's name still, and I finally got that taken out, but I think at this point, we're not locked into any sort of contract still. So I believe we can get out of it without any penalties or anything like that.
I would make the motion to.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Carlson, second by Reagan. Any more discussion?
Again,
Go ahead.
what's the motion? I'm
So,
lost.
so they're shutting down the police department phone that cost the police department $800 and some a year.
The cell phone.
Their cell phone.
Okay,
Because he's saying, well, you've heard all the reasons that it doesn't benefit him.
okay.
Just, sorry about that.
No?
All right, any other comments or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, next on the agenda or on mine was a prescription med box drop. I don't know if any of you are familiar with this. It's becoming a more popular item. There's a lot of issues going on with adults, teens, abusing prescription drugs. Thefts of prescription drugs from homes that are leftovers, especially pain medications. So the way to fix it was a lot of departments are putting in these drop boxes so that once you're done taking your prescription or you didn't use it all, you can bring it and drop it off in this secure box. It's picked up periodically by a certain person so it can be taken to an incinerator for proper disposal. That way it keeps it out of the hands of the wrong people. Currently, the sheriff's office was curious if we'd like to put a prescription box here. They would be responsible, from my understanding, they'd be responsible for doing the pickup of the drugs and taking them to the incinerator. The box would be coming from the city of Randall. They had a box in there, they still do, but as their police department has shut down, at this time. They're no longer able to keep that box because they have to have a police department in order to have it.
So that's one we would get then?
They are curious if we would be interested in purchasing it from them.
Oh.
They paid $695 for it in 2013, so about 5 years ago. And they're wondering if we would be willing to make an offer to purchase it to use or to have from them.
They give an indication how much they wanted for it.
They did not. I spoke with the city administrator today and he just stated that he's looking for an offer. But I know Mayor Yoder has also spoken to him about it as well.
Yeah, he got a hold of me and, I swear I got the pictures here, I mean, there's my cell phone took pictures of it. Most police departments have these. I know I've collected some here and took them down there, and then some of them I think are directly put to Staples PD. I just think as a resident, one of the things I've always kind of pushed for is I wanted to get one of these in here. And I honestly think we could, it looks brand new. I mean, the only thing they do is open it up, you drop them in, and there's a big lock in there, and the certified person that comes, that does all of them, stops and picks them up, takes them up to permanent incinerators. So I thought about like, it'd be worth $400. I think they're willing to get rid of it for that.
I like the idea of having it myself. I think it's a good idea.
It's a good idea.
Doesn't the pharmacies, can't you drop them off there?
I don't think so.
I don't know, I do know that some people, I've been here, I've taken them from somebody who seemed like they
Right.
really wanted to get rid of them and they wanted to give them to a police officer who wasn't here and I was like, I'll just take them and give them to him, which
Right.
I don't like doing, but it also seemed like probably a big deal that they were coming to drop them off and willing to tell a non-police officer about it, so I think it's a decent idea too. I think start low.
So ideally, would we put that up in the front?
Do you know the dimensions? That's what I was
It's-
curious.
You know, it looks about that wide, about that deep, and probably about this tall. With the sign a little taller, about like that. Probably. The box itself is about this tall.
Because I just wonder if it would fit in the entryway, but not block the door.
Between the two sets of doors, Lace?
Yeah.
I think
Because
it would.
I don't really want it out in this lobby area, it's already full enough. And that makes sense where people would be able to drop them off and they wouldn't have to see anybody, which I think is, you know, for some people part of it. I don't know, but I don't know,
think
without
it
knowing the
fit in there.
dimensions, I don't know.
It wasn't that big. I was surprised if you look at the spot where they got it. It's not very big.
Well, what are those, maybe 12-inch tiles on the floor there?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe a little bit bigger.
Well, the paneling is about 4 inches, so it's only about 12 inches wide.
Yeah, it was about this wide, about that deep, probably about this tall. The box, and then you could have a little sign, this little hall.
So now there's no fees for them to come empty this thing, right?
Mhm.
The only cost we would have is the cost of the box.
Right.
But I do know I've had several people come and ask me, where can we dump our meds? I got this big bag full of meds I wanna get rid of. And I've always had to send them over to Staples PD.
Yeah. Well,
Yes, I
and
know
you
they
look
have.
at, you know, society, and that is one of the main addictions, so,
Big addiction.
you know, it's probably a real legitimate thing that we should offer.
I don't know, I think it's worth $400 and I think they'd get rid of it for that. I know you could probably go a little cheaper, but it's brand new, I think it looks brand new.
Well, we just saved 800 on the cell phone, so.
They paid 700, no?
Yeah, $695. And I seen the minutes, I know that's what they paid for it.
I'd say, I think it's a good idea. I like the idea of having it. I think it's a good service for the community.
I think so as well.
Alright,
I will make a motion to offer them $400 for the bill box.
okay.
And I would second that.
Motion made by Carlson, second by Hutchinson. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I just had a couple more quick things, just to let the council know. Our existing radar sign arrived today, fully repaired, so I will be getting that mounted back up tomorrow. It sounds like from the manufacturer that the new one should be arriving any day as well, so we'll have 2 of them, which will be greatly beneficial. We've been
Yeah.
having a lot of issues with speeding through town on the highway. Also, I received an email a few weeks ago from the post board regarding some reimbursement funds for training. So Lacey helped me out with finding all of the records and dollar amounts that I needed. The post board will reimburse us for all training costs, salary costs due to the training, hotels, lodging, food, mileage, everything. So I put a request in for $3,995 change. So we should be getting that shortly as well.
And these are on past ones that you've attended or
Yes, it
departments
was for the
attended?
last fiscal year, which runs from July 1st of 17 through June 30th of this year.
Yeah, and funny you should say that. Darcy had some records that she had already gone through, and I was looking through them today. They did usually get that in like the 80s and 90s, and then I don't know what, people forgot about it or something. So I don't know what
Job
happened.
training them.
Yes, exactly.
It helps.
Well, yeah, they send them an email, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's good.
Cool.
Yeah. Did you want to bring up the Facebook page?
Yes. Also, we have a Motley PD Facebook page currently. Lacey and I personally just kind of created a quick Facebook page today. First time ever I've been on Facebook, so.
So you spent all day on there? No.
I spent about 2 minutes after my wife said, here you go. So I think it's a good idea to have a Facebook page to get some information out there for people, and a lot of people seem to follow it, which is really good. But Lacey and I were discussing it, and we were kind of thinking maybe it would be better to, instead of having just a Motley PD one, having a city one, and having all the departments covered under one general Facebook page.
Yeah, that's something, so at least I couldn't find any record of anybody ever authorizing a Facebook page saying, yes, spend work time on this, here are the guidelines, all of that kind of stuff. So I don't know if those are parameters you guys want to set up, if you want to just sort of let it go the way it's been going, and I can, right now I'm the administrator because Jason didn't have Facebook until today, so, and you have to have an account to do it, but I can just transfer it to him, we can go on that way. I don't know what your guys' feeling is about it, or who you want working on it, who has access to it, all of that stuff.
You know, if I remember correctly in the conferences that I had went to, they always kind of advised to be really careful with that. And
That's why
avoid
I've
it.
stayed out of it.
Yeah.
I've tried to turn a blind eye.
But from a personal side, I think it would be really nice to have a Facebook page we could go to and look at like maybe upcoming events, like if there's gonna be a picnic in the park by one of the churches, or, you know, even if they had the recycling schedule, or, you know.
Yeah, and we have that on the website, but I think
Yeah.
Facebook really does reach a lot of people.
I think
It-
more people on Facebook than websites.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know I am, I'll just
Me too.
have it. And I, you know, Ron used to do a good job about, you know, reminders about moving over for, you know, give them a lane and, you know, different things, turn your headlights on.
Yeah.
I actually like the idea of doing the community or the
City.
city one instead of just one department, that maybe there'll be a little more content to it, I guess, but.
Try it once and see.
And then allow like department heads have access to it
Yeah.
for postings, or?
That's how I would recommend it. Each department does their own, unless you could
Or-
have him or
Come on,
him.
Bruce, you know you can do it.
Or, I mean, the other option is it could be run through our office with, it's something else that Darcy could probably help out with, I assume, and the department heads could, you know, I could supervise it, but the department heads could go to Darcy and say, hey, can you put this on there for me? And that could be part of, we could add that to Darcy's
Well,
job.
and I like that idea too, because, you know, we should be really careful about not putting political views and, you know, maybe going too far with
Well,
any
and we can
religious
turn the
thing or-
comments off, because I know other cities have had issues with that, where somebody maybe makes a comment that the city doesn't want on there,
Mhm.
but then they also don't want to delete it because of free speech and stuff, so if you can make it so nobody can comment,
More of an informational instead
Right.
of,
a community forum, if
Forum.
people want a community forum,
See,
they could go.
On the police side, I kind of disagree with that, because we use ours, the sheriff's office one. We get a lot of information from that, And if you have like a picture, a camera picture of a burglary, or, you know, they'll put, or a stolen car, they'll put a car picture on there, and they'll inbox back saying, hey, check this, you know, or I seen it here. People just communicate that way, so if you shut all that off, then they ain't gonna communicate that.
I think we can set it up where they could still send a message, but it just wouldn't be like public, like not everybody could see
So
their
you
comment.
do it just like an instant message in.
Right, so we would get the message, but other people can't see it. It would just be a message, not a comment, if you're in the Facebook world.
So what happens on the, like, I see a lot of it on the sheriff's office where they'll tag Amy, and then she'll tag someone else, and it kind of goes out wide, you know, because
Right.
it's somebody you know.
And I think we can, in Darcy, we could work all of that kind of stuff out. We could play around with it a little bit, and see what options there are, because I'm not I mean, I'm on Facebook, but I'm not really on Facebook, so.
Yeah, I'm kind of that way too. I don't know a
Yeah.
lot about it. I just kind of stop people and look at pictures and
Right.
not stalk people. Please let me fix it.
It's on the public record, Amy. So we could look at all of those types of options, what we have, and what we want, or what you guys want, I guess.
Do you have a person at the county who deals with that? Like a PR person or somebody?
Well, so originally it was me, I started it for the old sheriff, when the new sheriff got elected, I still can get on it, but he kind of wants to do his own thing, him and the assistant do their own thing.
Okay.
So they just I just kind of let them do it, I still go on there. Once in a while they call me, he's gone out of town, hey, can you put this, you know, so I do it for him, but, yeah. I mean, you gotta be careful what you put on there,
Yeah.
you know.
My biggest concern is, like I said, today's my first day on Facebook. I have absolutely no idea how it works, how it runs. I've never been on it, so I think it's a great tool. Like Mary Yoder said, I mean, there are good tips. There are things you can put on there to get out to the public, to let them know to watch for something that's been stolen or different things.
Well,
But
schools do it too,
I'm
like alerts through like lockdowns and stuff they go
Yeah.
through.
I'm just scared of not being able to do as good a job at it. Ron did a really good job at it before when he was chief, and I just don't have that experience or knowledge with it, and I don't wanna be missing up, have the public miss out,
Right.
because I don't know how to operate it.
So we could start it with you, Lacey, and them guys kind of putting Lacey and Darcy.
Get my name?
Well, I got too many names to remember. I'm bad with names too.
You guys are very similar too, because I did a lot too.
So if you, start with them posting, if you Lacey does a good, or Darcy does too a good job on the internet, so it'd be good to get started and see how it goes.
The internet, that's just kind of a passive.
Someday, you won't have to deal with it, Steve.
Yeah, I know.
All right, I don't know, do we need a motion on that?
Not really. Do you guys want like a full policy and stuff? Do you want to just
I think we should
sort
look
of
at a
see how it
policy,
goes?
maybe copy
Okay.
what the county has or something.
Yeah, the
They just
county
started
has
theirs
one.
now too.
The
so.
league, all of these conferences, people talk about it all the time and the things to avoid and blah, 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 blah.